صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Okay, inshallah, so I'm going to continue with the subject of Shamail. So we're in chapter 8 now. So if we put the date and the title as the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, footgear and sandals. So the first of this is from Buraidah, who relates that Negus al-Najashi gifted the Prophet ﷺ a pair of plain black hoofs, and he wore them and then performed wudu and wiped over them. So Negus, he was the ruler of Kingdom of Abyssinia, and that's in northeast Africa. That's where the companions, the Sahabas who did the Hijrah migration there, when they've been persecuted in Mecca. So it was in the early phase. So people such as Uthman ibn Affan and Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, they, and along with other companions, they migrated to Abyssinia because Prophet ﷺ, he sent them there saying there is a righteous king there and he will not allow you to be persecuted over there. So many companions went there and they lived there, and they lived like you could say like a refugee, modern day refugee or asylum seekers, and they were given protection and they're able to practice their faith. And they also had conversation with the king as well. And it is mentioned that towards the end of his life, King al-Najashi, King Negus, he actually became Muslim. He actually embraced Islam, but he didn't actually see the Prophet ﷺ. That's why he did not attain the rank of Sahaba. He actually became Muslim, but he did not see the Prophet ﷺ. And it's mentioned that the news of the message of his death was brought to him by Angel Jibrail, who told him that with the news of his death. And Prophet ﷺ, he actually prayed his janazah from I think it was whilst they were in I can't remember if it was Makkah or Medina, but anyway they did like a prayer of the unseen, you could say, because they were in Makkah in Saudi Arabia at that time, or Medina, whilst the king was he died in Abyssinia in Africa. And so he gifted Prophet ﷺ a pair of plain black hoofs. Hoofs is like a leather socks basically. So it's a sock that's made of leather in the shape of somebody's foot, and it covers the obligatory area of your paw when you have to do wudu. So basically it's up to minimum is up to and including ankle. So a leather socks, right, it would in the shape of a foot basically, and it would include up to and including the paw of the ankle. And whilst if you got leather socks on, then when it comes to wudu, inshallah we'll cover it more in details in the fiqh masail, then you could wipe over that. Al-Sha'bi said, Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah said, Dihya gifted the Prophet a pair of hoofs, which he then wore. Israel said, on the authority of Jabir, on the authority of Amr, and then he gifted him a jubba. He continued to wear them until they had holes in them. The Prophet ﷺ did not know whether they were from a ritually slaughtered animal or not. So this is talking about here, this was an individual who gifted hoofs and leather socks to the Prophet ﷺ, but the Prophet he wasn't aware, or he wasn't made to aware whether the animal was the skin, the leather of the animal that was made from, whether the animal was slaughtered like Islamic way or non-Islamic way. That's why. So it doesn't really matter if you got leather socks on. And I mean, it has to be like of a cow or a sheep or a camel or something like that. It can't be of like a haram animal that we can consume, right? But it doesn't need to be slaughtered according to the Muslim. And Dihya al-Qalbi, he was a famous companion actually, and it was said that he resembled Isa alayhi salam, because the Prophet he would tell the Sahabas like so and so resembles so and so, or so and so resembles so and so. And Dihya ibn Qalbi, he was a very beautiful, handsome individual, and it's mentioned that Prophet said to him that he resembled Isa alayhi salam. And also it's mentioned that the hoofs they had, the Prophet he would wear them. So obviously imagine in those days in the desert, or when people were in leather socks, they wouldn't necessarily wear shoes or trainers or sandals on top of that. They would just wear the leather socks and they would walk with them. So after a while they start wearing off, and you must start getting holes and stuff like that. So it's mentioned if the hole, as long as the hole is not too big, then you could still use it to perform a masah, wipe over them. And we will go to that more in details inshallah in fiqh lesson. Ibn Abbas said each of the Messenger of Allah's sandals had 2 straps. Isa ibn Tahmin said Anas ibn Malik brought out for us 2 hairless double strap sandal. Thabit al-Bunani informed me afterwards, relating from Anas, that they were the Prophet ﷺ sandals. So here Anas ibn Malik, remember, he was a young boy, used to serve the Prophet ﷺ. So this when person passed away, he brought out 2 pairs, a sandal with 2 straps, and then he showed it to them. And then afterward, one of the Tabi'in, I believe it was, who said that that was the sandal of the Prophet ﷺ. So they had relics, or relics of the Prophet ﷺ, i.e. his sandals. And it's mentioned that actually, if you ever blessed to go to Turkey, they actually have one of the sandals of the Prophet ﷺ, I think in the Topkapi Palace, but they also have it in where one of the Sahaba, his name is Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, he's buried. So where he's buried, there's like it's a maqam, there's a masjid there, and his burial place is there, and within that place, on the wall opposite his grave, they've got the sandal of the Prophet on display there as well. So if you want to see the sandal of the Prophet, that is the place you can see. When Ubayd ibn Juray said to Ibn Umar, I saw you wearing sibti sandals, he replied, I saw the Messenger of Allah wear hairless sandals in which he performed wudu, and so I love to wear them. So sibti sandals are those which have like hair removed and it's been tanned basically. So like that's what we probably wear nowadays. But in the past, remember, they didn't have the facilities, so when they used animal skins to make sandals or straps, it would still contain hair of the animal. Amr ibn Hurayth said, I saw the Messenger of Allah pray in sandals that had one sole sewn to another. So he's talking about here, if you can pray with your sandals as long as it's pure, basically there's no dirt or filth or anything like that. For a father it's clean. And there are other rules as well, because for instance the sandal has to be in such a way that it can bend your toes basically. So it can't be like a very hard material that it doesn't bend. Again, inshallah, we'll go through more in fiqh details, so you need to be aware of that. Abu Hurairah relates that the Messenger of Allah said, let none of you walk in a single sandal, let him either wear both sandals or take both of them off. So this is something that I think the next one, because Jabir relates that the Prophet prohibited for him to eat with his left hand or walk with a single sandal. So you shouldn't wear one sandal or one shoes or one trainers and walk. Okay, you should either have both of them on or not have any of them on. So it's a bad thing to do. It's imitating shaitan. I think the different narration mentioned as well. So you shouldn't wear one sandal, one shoes or one trainers. Abu Hurairah relates that the Prophet said, when one of you wants to wear his sandals, then let him begin with the right, and when he takes them off, then let him begin with the left, so that the right foot is the first of the two for the sandal to be worn, and the last of them for it to be removed. And he also said, Abu Hurairah, the Messenger of Allah's sandals had 2 straps, likewise did Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu sandals. And the first person to tie a single strap was Uthman radiallahu anhu. So it's talking about here 2 straps. So again, you might have seen people have like this shape of like a sandals, and they would have it on their hat or on their jacket or on their clothes, and that design or that pattern of the design is taken from the sandal of the Prophet ﷺ. So that is something, if you know the shape or the form of the sandal of the Prophet ﷺ, that's what you see. And the other thing to remember is that you shouldn't again, when you're putting sandals or shoes on, you should start with your right, and then when you're taking them off, start with the left. So with that, we're going to stop here. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the love of the Prophet ﷺ into our heart, and to our children, and give us the tawfiq to follow in his example. Assalamu alaikum everyone.
Sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم